Hey there, Regina Andler, and welcome to Motivation Monday here at Ascent. We are on the Women Business Owners from Overwhelmed to Overjoyed page, group page on Facebook. We are also out on the business page, Ascent Consulting, and on our YouTube page. We are also streaming this live. And today we are talking about overwhelm and being overwhelmed. Our theme this week is all about that overwhelmed feeling. Now, when I said that, overwhelm and overwhelmed, what did that make you feel? Did it make you feel, I hate being overwhelmed? Or do you have a positive spin that you put on overwhelm, meaning you could be overwhelmed with gratitude? You could be overwhelmed with joy. You could be overwhelmed with happiness. Two sides to every coin, right? So from an overwhelmed standpoint, especially if you're a business owner, we talk about that overwhelmed feeling of not being overwhelmed with joy and overwhelmed with happiness. Rather, it's the negative side of the overwhelm where it's, oh my gosh, I've got so much to do. I'll never get it done. They're throwing more stuff at me. What is going on? A lot of overwhelm comes from a perceived lack of time. A lot of people think of being overwhelmed and, what happens when you get overwhelmed? All those not feel so good chemicals in your body, they start going a little bit crazy, and they start, your adrenaline starts going, you start getting anxious, you start feeling maybe even nervous and nauseous. Some people, when they're really overwhelmed, feel nauseous, and it's that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response that you can get when you're feeling overwhelmed. You get overwhelmed, and it might be the fight, where you're like, everybody who comes at you, you're like, that's it, I'm done, I'm not doing this anymore. And you get that fight on. Or it could be the flight, and you're like, you know what? I am not dealing with this anymore. I am out of here. Or it could be freeze, and you just do nothing. They say an overwhelmed person may do absolutely nothing. Or the fawn, you get overwhelmed and there's people all around you, and you're like, you know what? I'm done. I am just going to let this play out. However it plays out, it doesn't make you any less anxious or stressed. It's just kind of thrown in the towel with the fawn response. So when you're overwhelmed, basically nothing gets done, because an overwhelmed person, it doesn't matter. You're in some kind of reaction mode. And so now you end up, it kind of snowballs because you get overwhelmed. And now you're like, well, I didn't have enough time, and I'm upset, and I'm overwhelmed about all this stuff that's happening. And now you're actually making that worse, because now you're not doing the stuff that you need to get done. And so it kind of snowballs. Now, you remember our E plus R equals O. The event plus your response equals the outcome. Now, an event might come up that you're working all day long and everything's going great, everything's going fine. And all of a sudden, something happens and you kick into overwhelm mode. Now, whatever happened is the event. Now, everything was going just fine before that event. And yet that one little thing was the straw that broke the camel's back, right? And now all of a sudden you're in this adrenaline rush, and you pick one of those: freeze, flight, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. You pick one of those and your body just goes automatically into one of those modes. And so now you're not getting anything done. Now you're starting to feel guilty or whatever, or upset more because you aren't getting done what you wanted to get done, because now you're so overwhelmed. And prior to that, everything was fine. That's the event. Whatever happened to set you off, that was the event. Now, here's your response. Because the outcome, your current outcome, is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And in doing that, excuse me while I get my cat off. In doing that, the hazards from working from home. And in doing that, that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, in that response, that's the outcome. That's actually the outcome. You do one of those things, and your outcome is that overwhelm. Now, you don't want to be overwhelmed. Nobody wants to be overwhelmed in a bad way. Remember, there's overwhelmed in a good way. We don't want to be overwhelmed in a bad way. And so you have a choice. In that response spot, you have a choice. Now, here's a few tips for when you get into that mode, because when you are in the thick of it, have you ever been in the thick of it where it's just hitting the fan? It's really hitting the fan, and you are just like, I can't deal anymore. And the overwhelm is just so great that you want to give up, you want to fight, you want to do something, but you just can't stay where you are. You know that adrenaline's going, anxiety, everything. It's terrible. If you've ever felt that before, you know it's a terrible feeling. It's a really bad energy vibe. So here's the first thing to do. The very first thing to do, step away. Whatever is going on, take 5. Give yourself 5 minutes. Give yourself permission to be human for 5 minutes. Step away and look at what's going on from the outside. What is important that really has to get done? What just happened that moved you into a state of overwhelm? Was just some kind of emergency that everything that was just going on just shifted, and now the entire day is going to shift. Your entire existence, your entire reality right now in this moment is shifting. And that's what created the overwhelm. Step away, look at it from the outside. Give yourself 5 so that you can go and just think about, where am I? And most importantly, how do I want to respond to whatever it is that is just happening? I see a Facebook user out there that says, great questions. Thank you very much. If you click on the approve for StreamYard, I'll be able to know who that was and I'll know your name. The next thing for that overwhelm, a lot of us get overwhelmed when we start taking on so much stuff. And then somebody else comes in and says, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. I just need 1 moment of your time. The answer is no. Learn to say no. Very powerful word, 2 letters. It's a complete sentence. Learn to say no and create a no list. If you are constantly being bombarded during your day and you have your own agenda of what you want to do. Now, yes, emergencies happen, things happen, shifts happen during the day. That's okay. Learn to roll with those shifts. Little ocean wave of rolling goes a long way. Roll with those shifts. The thing is that learn to say no and know what your limitations are. Somebody comes in and says, but I really need you to do this. I would really love to help you out with that right now. And right now is not a good time. So right now, the answer is no. And get back to what you were doing. Create a no list of the things that you are absolutely unequivocally saying no to. And just learn to say no when you already know you have a ton of stuff on your plate that you're not taking on anymore. So unless somebody comes to you with something that just trumped something that was already on your list, the answer is no. It might be a no for now. It might be, I'll get back to you later. Right now, the answer is no. And when you get really good at saying no, you won't have to worry about it so much, because all those people who are used to taking advantage of your time, there are people out there that know if you're not a no person. They know you're always going to say yes. You're always going to help them no matter what they ask you to do. You are going to say, sure, I'll help you out with that. For them, it's great because you just helped them. For you, it just added to your overwhelm because it gave you one more thing to do. When you learn to say no and you start saying no to those people who are always taking advantage of your time, trust me, after a couple of no's, they won't interrupt you anymore. They'll know that, oh, you know what? She looks really busy. I know she's got a lot on her plate. We're just not going to even ask her now. So that no list is good. The next thing for a tip is absolutely, hands down, give yourself permission to be human, because stuff happens. Stuff comes into your day, depending on if you're at a job You could be at a job where you have a boss who's coming at you all the time, employees that are coming at you all the time. You could have your own business. You have your own employees who are coming to you, or you have other stuff going on. And maybe it's you're working on some training, you're working on some marketing, you're working on all this different stuff. You have all these things on your list of things to do. And then, as a small business owner, possibly working from home, the dog runs out into the middle of the street and gets out of the yard. An emergency just happened. You've got to go deal with that. Everything else just got put aside. Give yourself permission to be human and go take care of what you need to take care of most, right? The next one is to ask for help. When you are feeling overwhelmed, the thing is that we're all kind of closet control freaks. And we're like, I got this covered. I got this covered. It's a limiting belief that many of us have. I won't say all of us. Many of us have this limiting belief that we've got this. It's our job. We're going to get it done. It doesn't matter what it is, how bad it is, how big it is. We're going to get it done because we were told not to give up, not to quit. There is nothing wrong with asking for help. A lot of us don't ask for help because we have a limiting belief that, well, we're supposed to be able to handle this. We feel guilty if we can't handle it all because of a limiting belief in our head that says we're supposed to get it all done. Well, you know what? You don't have to go it all alone. You don't have to do it all alone. You can ask for help, and there are more than enough people out there that are more than happy to come and lend you a hand. So remember, asking for help is a good thing. The last one is if you're in a state of total overwhelm and things are going crazy. Overwhelm comes from feelings inside of, I can't handle this anymore. This is too much. I just can't. When you get into that mode, that mindset, stop and write it down. What are you feeling right now? What is it that has you overwhelmed? What is going on? Really, what are you feeling? What is it? Are you feeling it in your gut? Are you all of a sudden just got a tension headache because it's just too much? You start crunching up in the neck. You start going like this. You're getting all anxious. Stop, write down what you're feeling, what's going on, and whatever's in front of you. When you write it out, it allows you to think about it in a different way. Just the process of writing it out may give you the solution of, I need to ask somebody for help, or I need to say no, or I need to take this off of today's list or take something else off of today's list and go deal with this and reprioritize what's going on for my day. And then once you do that, now you've got a more manageable list. Once you have a more manageable list or a more manageable outcome of what's going on, the overwhelm disappears. So when you're in that overwhelmed state, the bad overwhelmed state, where it's the, I can't take this anymore, stop. Give yourself a minute. Learn to say no. Learn to ask for help. And you'll find that that response, what you have your power of, E plus R equals O, the event, whatever it is that's making you overwhelmed. Could be a bunch of things. Could be 5 events all happening at once that bring on that state of overwhelm. Whatever it is that's going on, give yourself a minute. Think it through. What is going on? Choose your response. You get to create your story. If you are overwhelmed, guess what? You chose to be overwhelmed. Now, I say that with, tongue in cheek today, as I had an incident that happened here at home. I had some personal stuff going on. I had some work stuff going on. The cat was on my lap, sticking her claws into me. And I was just like, I can't handle this. And I was like, stop. What do you need to do? Well, first I need to get the cat off of my lap and the claws out of my leg. Done. Next, talk to my husband. The answer to him was no. It was coming in with, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. And I had all my work stuff. And I had stuff planned out. And so I looked at him and I said, no, I can't do that right now. I can do it later. Even as I said no to him and said that I'll do it later, a sense just came over me. The overwhelm just went away. It was all the stuff in combination that was causing the overwhelm. And that's what happens to us every day. And when you stop, you say no, you ask for help, say, I'll help you with that later. However you want to phrase it. It's to bring that state of overwhelm down and get done whatever it is that you actually really, truly want to get done for the day. If it's an emergency and you need to shift gears, again, roll with that flow. The ripples of life, it happens. All of a sudden, somebody throws a rock in your pond. An emergency happens. It's okay. Stop. Give yourself the 5. Choose your response. Your automatic response, likely, most of the time, your automatic response is exactly what is going to send you into the outcome of overwhelm. Because automatically, you just react. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. You automatically react. When you're in any one of those states, that means you didn't give yourself 5 to actually think about what your response was. You responded from, maybe it's a limiting belief. Maybe it's just whatever was going on in your head at the time. You didn't stop to think it through. Stop, step away, give yourself 5. Create the calm and remove the overwhelm. I hope these tips help for you. We've got 4 more quotes coming up out on our social media channels this week. So keep an eye out for those. And you can find us over at the Women Business Owners from Overwhelmed to Overjoyed. And remember, there is a good version of overwhelm, and that's being overwhelmed with gratitude, overwhelmed with happiness, overwhelmed with great tips on how to get rid of the bad overwhelmed. It's all out there. It's all out there for you. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.